Hello everyone, welcome to live session episode 13 with Sirus migration. It's always good to have you with these live sessions. Today we're going to talk about updates and visa information.
Queensland BSMQ Open, so that's very big news. It is deep into Queensland system and how you can be ready for Queensland visas.
So my name is Siruyapa. I'm a Australian registered migration agent, and here we got Ashani Yapa, an Australian registered migration agent as well. So whatever the information we provide you, we go with migration agents registration on the conduct. So we'll start with
I think I'm going to start with some questions. Because we have some questions that we received from last session and that some of our clients asked us during the week. So we thought we will start the session by answering some of your questions. While we answer these questions, if you have more questions when you are watching this, please do post them in the comments in YouTube, or if you're watching through Facebook. And if you haven't liked our page yet, you can do so and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to bring latest Australian migration news to you wherever possible. Mario, if we can go to the questions, that'll be great. So these are some of the questions that we selected because they were the most frequently asked questions. How long does a 482 visa take? And if you get a 482 visa, can you enter Australia straight away? So subclass 482 is an employer nominated, it's a work visa, and you need an Australian employer, or you need an employer to give you a sponsorship and a nomination. That's when you can lodge the visa. How long it takes? That's a very good question. I would actually say that depends on your occupation these days, simply because of COVID-19.
How critical it is.
They have come up with 17-18 occupations. It's called PMSOL, Priority Skill Migration Occupation List. If your occupation is one of these occupations, then you will get your visa granted pretty quickly because it will be prioritized. If not, so it can take about a month, sometimes 2 months, or even less than that. We have had grants within a month. But if your occupation is not a critical occupation, so for example, if it's an accountant or chef or any other occupations, there are many occupations available under 482, then sometimes if you lodge a complete application, decision ready application, so all your health and police clearances done, all the documents, necessary documents attached, then again your visa will be faster because the department then has everything they need to make a decision. Normal scenarios, it can take up to a year if your occupation is not critical. And the next question is, can I enter Australia straight away if you have a 482 visa granted? Mari will go back to the question one. Thank you. So answer to that question is, if your occupation is in PMSOL, then you can enter Australia. Or if your employer, once the visa is granted, if your employer provides a letter or any support evidence to show that it's very critical for you to be in Australia, this is to benefit Australians or the workforce, then we may be able to get you a travel exemption to come to Australia. So even if you're holding a 482, you cannot enter Australia unless you have a travel exemption. So I hope this answered the question. We will now move on to the second question.
Is there any chance of increasing age limit for offshore skill migration as the time of lodging EOI? My age was 42.
Should we read it?
Yeah.
So is there any chance of increasing age limit for offshore skilled migration? As at the time of lodging the EOI, my age was 42. But due to closure, offshore applicants, due to pandemic, am I losing on age? Unfortunately, yes, because age really counts when you're getting the invitation, not when you're submitting the EOI. So, for example, if you don't get an invitation for the next few years and you turn 45, then you're not going to be eligible anymore. because as your age bracket changes, you will get an email from Skill Select letting you know that, okay, your work experience have increased, now you have more points, or you have fallen under the different age bracket, so you're decreasing your points. So that's how Skill Select works. It automatically counts the points by with the information you provide. So as to this question, if you fall over 45 and goes off the age bracket, then Skill Select will let you know, and your EOI will not be valid anymore.
The time that they consider your age is at the time of the invitation. So
yes.
If you were at a certain age at the time of the invitation, that's what they count, because expression of interest is not a visa. So at the time of the applying for EOI, it doesn't count, but at the time of the invitation is where your age will be counted.
Yes. So we will move on to the next question. I am offshore and my occupation is software engineer. It is included in the priority migration skilled occupation list, which is the PMSOL I talked about earlier. I have 80 points under 491 visa. This person must have got 15 points from the state, so they 65. Must have had their own 65 points to make it to 80 points. Will I have any chances to enter Australia? So as it is right now, most of the states are not inviting you if you are offshore. So that's the fact. That's what it is right now.
So your chances is if you go by Tasmania 491 Part 3, then you might have an opportunity, but then again you need to have a job offer and explanation why your occupation is that much in a demand. Otherwise you may have to wait till the borders open or the new system opens in near future.
Or if you can secure a job and a company who's willing to sponsor you to come and work in Australia under 482, then number one, yes, you can apply for 482 because software engineer is on the MLTSS list as well.
Yeah.
Number two, you will be able to enter Australia as well because this occupation is in the priority migration skilled occupation list.
And after your qualification, if you have at least minimum of 3 years of experience and IELTS 6, together with that job offer, you might be able to apply for 186, which is a permanent residency, and you and the family will be able to travel with no problem as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So do we have another question?
Yeah. So I have completed certificate 4 in horticulture and studying diploma of horticulture in Cairns. What things I need to do before
491?
I need to do for 491. So you need to complete your course, and then you need to apply for your subclass 485 visa, and then you need
you need the time gap to prepare for the 491 visa, and in most of the cases it might not be the same, but in most of the cases you may not have enough time to prepare yourself for the 491 visa. That's why you need to get 485 visa lodged earlier before the 491.
That's right, because to be eligible for 491 you need to have certain amount of English, and you need to have a skills assessment, and you need to have work experience to get the skills assessment.
Yeah.
So for you to do all that, you need extra time. That's why subclass 485 was introduced in the first place, for people to be ready. So for you to get subclass 491, first what we would do is we would calculate the current points, see how many points you're sitting at, and then we will give you suggestions how you can increase your points to get to your maximum points. And then we will suggest to find a job and get ready for the skills assessment. So once you're ready with that, if you're in Cairns, then which means you are eligible for 491 because it's a regional suburb. In that case, you only need 3 months work experience at the time of lodging the EOI plus a 12 months job offer. So if you can tick all these boxes, then you will be ready for your 491. Probably move to the next question. I am a staff nurse. I have completed BSc nursing. I am working in Saudi Arabia. I am now planning to write OET, and after that, what's the procedures? So to apply for any visa as a registered nurse, you need to hold a registration in Australia. Otherwise, you cannot practice as a registered nurse. So your next step is obtaining your registration. So now they have recently changed the rules. You could obtain the registration from offshore before, but now you have to be in Australia and complete a course, a short course, for you to get your registration for overseas trained nurses for most of the countries. It's very important. I want to know where you completed your nursing course from, because depending on the country, the pathway to get your registration can be different. So find out what are the rules of getting the registration first. So you need to have the registration, and if you want to go through for certain occupation that includes nursing, and if you want to go through state nominated visa, then you need to have a skills assessment as well. So there are two things you need apart from English to go for state nominated visa. So the things you can do right now is look for getting your registration and skill assessment, and then probably wait for the borders to open so you can get an invitation. Probably go to the last question and then we can move on. Is there any possibility for 491 family sponsor in regional Queensland at 100 points? 491 family sponsor is a very competitive visa, but 100 points is still a good point, I think. But it all depends on what the occupation is as well. So these kind of general questions are great, but if you can be more specific with your questions, give us as much details as you can. So the more we know about you, the better we can come up with a solution for you.
Sometimes we'll talk about it. Maybe if you need to get a specific answer, talk to us. You got all the contact details down below. So phone lines or emails or any inquiry through Facebook, we will be responding back, and then you can organize an appointment to talk to us directly individually, so that way we can give you a proper answer tailor-made to you. What we discuss in these forums or live sessions is general information. So when it comes to your own circumstances, before we can give you specific answers, we are required to sit down and go through all your information.
So do you want to move to BSMQ?
So before, I think it's going to be part of it. There are quite a few updates that we would like to talk to you about. So BSMQ is part of it. Ashani can't hold the horses at the moment about BSMQ. So let's get Ashani to talk about BSMQ. And I'm pretty sure the 188 part is her favorite, going to be her favorite in that.
188 is closed.
Yes.
So
491 SBO is open, so that's BSMQ.
Yes, so BSMQ is the Queensland state government body where they invite people for state nominated visa, subclass 491, work and business, subclass 190, work, and subclass 188 business visas. So they were closed for quite a long time for business visas and subclass 190 and 491 work visas, but they recently opened their program on 19th of April. Well, it was a bit of a we were expecting that as well, but there some things have changed, so I thought I will go through it. Maybe sometimes it could be a bit late for our listeners to apply for that if you haven't already done so, but I think this would be a good indication of what we are looking at in July or the next financial year. So when they reopened, they only reopened 491, they didn't reopen subclass 190, the permanent visa, and they did not reopen the business visas. So they will not be open till next financial year.
So just want to clarify something about when we talk about the closures. They were in February when they opened the BSMQ program. There were quite a few applicants who applied for 190 and 190 state-sponsored visas, as well as 491, all sorts of categories, including SBO, and 188 visas. So there are, even though BSMQ is very prompt and finalized most of the visas, there are still pending applications or EOIs, expressions of interests. So for those people who are in through that time period, you're still active. It's open for you in that regards. Your invitation will be
they're
processed.
Continuing to process these 491s and 190s.
190s.
Them opening doesn't
And
mean that you're not
188s
going
as
to
well.
get an invitation. Yes.
Yes.
So when they open, what they said, they will close on 25th of April. So that's your window. I think that's how it's going to be from now on.
Yeah.
Whenever they open, every 3 months or so, they will be open for a short window. So people know that, you get ready, you wait for that. As soon as they open, you submit your EOI. So they
It's
said
not-
if you
It's no point waiting. It's the tricky part is it's no point waiting for the program to be open to apply for this visa. So if you want to apply for the visa, you need to get ready 2-3 months
Exactly.
earlier. So 491, 190, 190 is a great visa scheme because you get 5 points from the government, the federal government or the state government. I'm sorry, not federal. I'm just clearing it up. It's state government, and then you're straight into permanent residency. Whereas 491, you get 15 points, and 491 also has different streams that you can work on.
Yeah. So when they if you submitted your EOI when they open in February, you don't need to submit your EOI again. They quite highlighted, don't submit multiple EOIs. We will process your EOI. And there's some amended requirements for SBO, a small business owner pathway, which is very important for most of our clients. I had a client today coming to see me about how these changes will affect them. So what they said about 491 small business owner, if you bought the business before 1st of April, which means the settlement had to go through before 1st of April, then you still can go with the older requirements. So it could be a franchise business, it could be a home-based business. The purchasing price doesn't have to be 100,000, it could be less than 100,000 as long as you did capital investments up to 100,000. But if your settlement happened after 1st of April, then you fall under the new category, the new rules, which means it cannot be a franchise. The business had to be operating for 2 years. The purchase price has to be 100,000. And if you're section 48 barred, of course, they will not invite you. So these are the new rules for 491 small business owner. It is still open. So if you have purchased a business and getting ready to apply, it is open for you.
So you done with BSMQ?
Not yet. So 190 is still closed, but they are still issuing invitations. And they are saying 190 will reopen next financial year once the nomination allocation has been given by the Department of Home Affairs.
We're all very excited for yourselves and ourselves to see this 2021,
Exactly.
2022 financial year program.
Yeah.
It'll be, we're hoping it'll be a wonderful, very exciting program coming up. So,
And also there's some exciting news for subclass 491, not just the critical sector. Normally the subclass 491, last time they only opened for the critical sector. If you can prove that you're from the critical sector, you have to send an email. So that is still open. So it's air, ambulance, critical, medical technology, engineering, critical infrastructure, supply chain, telecommunications, film and television, maritime industry, agriculture, technology and food, mining, emerging technology, financial technology, large scale manufacturing. So if you're working in these sectors, you could be a chef working in mining.
Yeah.
So you could be working in some other occupation, but in that sector it's still open. But very interestingly, they also open hospitality occupations. There are 4 of them. There's chef, cook, cafe and restaurant manager, accommodation and hospitality managers. So these occupations are open, don't have to be in the critical sector, but if you want to qualify under this stream, the additional requirement is, apart from fulfilling all the other requirements, you have to have 3 years post-qualification experience in your nominated occupation or highly related occupation. So I think this is really good news. This is kind of like a snapshot of what it's going to be in the next financial year. That is my personal view. I could be wrong, but most likely I think our next financial year occupation list could look like this. So they could come up with occupations that are critically needed for Queensland, an extended occupation, but then they can give you more caveats or more requirements that you need to fulfill. So who thought cook and chef would be in Queensland? We were kind of thinking maybe it won't. It is here. So don't be discouraged if you're not working in the critical sector. Anything could be possible in the next financial year. So whichever the occupation that you have worked hard to do your studies, get your skills assessment done, you have done everything else. So hang in there. We will know in a couple of months what it's going to look like, whether you will have a chance.
And I think that's done for BSMQ.
Yes.
We'll move on to Victoria. Victoria announced that they will continue to accept applications till 31st of May. So talking about 31st of May, it's mostly relevant to 188 visas. 188 visa program, as we discussed earlier sessions, 188 visa is the business innovation and it's only one stream. Business innovation stream, or it can be investment stream or significant investor stream. So all these categories, they'll be only open for applicants until 31st of. They will continue to open till 31st of May, whereas it is closed currently.
Yeah.
So all the UIs has to be submitted by then, and then the people who have already applied for BSMQ the UI process to Victorian government, they still continue to operate. And then after 31st of May, if you're applying, you'll be applying under the new 188A stream if you're going through 188A, which is higher turnover threshold and also higher asset threshold. So that's Victoria. And
I think we probably should answer some questions because we have so many of them.
let's go to quick new points updates before we can go on. ENSCO is going to expand in a few different categories. So the ENSCO is going to introduce new occupations and amend a few occupations under agriculture, forestry and fisheries, cybersecurity and naval shipbuilding. And they also are looking into expand further in the next financial year for engineering and construction areas as well, and also health.
I think it's about time.
It's about time, and
Yeah.
this is all. The good thing is when you look deep down into it, they all goes between this COVID-19 recovery program and also the priority list. So if you were to ask what's the best occupation to work on, just refer yourself back into COVID-19 economic recovery and also the priority list. You don't need a magician to tell you the full story.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be
priority sectors.
Yeah.
COVID-19.
And then this is the hottest news. Last week something exciting happened, and we were all excited to see how things going, and all of a sudden there's some glitches came, but authorities stayed strong on it, and I'm talking about the Trans-Tasman travel bubble. So after since about March 2020, it was the first time after a year and a bit we were able to travel overseas without a quarantine program. So between Australia and New Zealand, from Australia to New Zealand, or from New Zealand to Australia, you're allowed to travel without any quarantine program. So which is a big win, and also giving people a big hope for next few months.
And we've heard about more possible travel bubbles opening
Correct.
in the latter part of the year.
Between Japan, South Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, and also Fiji, Fiji's doing
Fiji,
quite well
yes.
with COVID-19 program and the Pacific Rim as well.
So it could be really good news for most of our viewers who are from offshore and who've been waiting for such a long time to
So
pursue your
don't
dreams
be
in
disappointed
Australia.
if you, and also since my Sri Lankan background, I just had to poke my nose in what's going on in Sri Lanka and India as well. So this is the information I had unofficially. So this has got nothing to do with official facts. Between Sri Lanka, India and Nepal, we've been had by October. There is a good if it continues to go the same way it goes, by September, October, there should be an opening for Sri Lankan migrants and international students especially to start traveling to Australia. And so is for Nepal. But unfortunately, right now, a bit negative for Indian clients. But who knows? I mean, the vaccination programs are continuing. So let's stay positive in regards to travel. People must need to travel for business reasons and family and my permanent migration and other reasons. So don't be disappointed. I think it's the hard time is over. So
Okay, we've got 10 minutes left. So we're going to move into the questions and we will try to go as fast as we can so we can cover almost all the questions. Just in case if we can't, we promise to tune in next week. We promise to answer your question first thing.
If you couldn't do it now,
before
we'll come back in next week. But don't leave your personal details. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button.
Okay, currently on 485. This is for Shiara. Moved to Regional Queensland occupation chef. Previously, they asked only 3 months work experience for 491. Now asking 3 years post qualification. Do you think they will continue this caveat for next financial year? Whoever in 485 visa and willing to apply 491 doesn't meet this requirement. Should I move to another state? If you just move to Regional Queensland, maybe don't move again, because we are hoping that this will, they probably have very limited quota. That's why they came up with this caveat to give people with more experience a chance first. So we are hoping that this will change next financial year. So keep working where you're working. And also, if you, even though you're a chef, let's say you're working in a mine, then you can be, possibly you can be qualified under critical sector, because even though you're chef, you're working in the critical sector. So let us know exactly where you're working and who your employer as well. And you know, as I said, this can change in the next financial year. And
also, if you're a chef, continue to be a good chef and continue to work. You'll have other options, maybe 407 to 482.
Sometimes,
482,
So
so just keep in touch.
I've got Nimasha. Will states open for offshore appointments in the next financial year? We are hoping. We don't have any inside information yet.
That's after 1st of July.
Yeah.
So hopefully we are positive about it. We all expect.
We will see.
Dr. Malik,
thank you very
much.
Saying great information. Thank you, Dr. Malik. I've got Shalika Devmini. Do you have branch in Melbourne?
Yes, we do have a branch in 505 Collins Street. But the good news is we are moving into a bigger street, a bigger space office in Hawthorne by I think the date is 5th of May. So be in touch with us. Our main number 13,74787 or send us an email. We'll tell you more details. We will personally be there on those dates. I think 5th or 3rd. I can't remember. Onwards, we'll be in the new office. So that's in Hawthorne, near Deakin. Near Toorak. So
okay.
Jessica, Joseph.
No, I'll probably go for the next one. So this is Sri Zen, working in regional as an accountant for more than 1 year. Any possible for next round? I'm thinking this is regional Queensland you're talking about. I can't really comment on that for accountant. It hasn't been in Queensland list for quite some time. But because, you know, people from offshore can't come here as well, we will know in July, August if you will have a chance. But of course, 491 small business is still open, even though you're an accountant, if you have a skills assessment. So that is probably something you can look into.
Srizana, if you're working, consider the 407 training visa and 482 visas as well. So there are the options as well while you're waiting for this.
So does social worker come under priority list in Queensland? Yes, social worker comes under priority. How about non-critical sectors?
Welcome back, Harshi. I think we've seen you last week or week before as well. So welcome back.
How about non-critical sectors? Do you think it will resume in July? Yes, we really hope so. I think it will resume. And then I've got Shara, aged care, chef. Please, get in touch with us. Aged care is in critical sector. So if you're a chef working in aged care, we may be able to apply for you under the critical sectors. Harshi, like for ICT security specialist, I'm sitting at 100 points under 491 family sponsored.
That's pretty good.
I think that's really good, Harshi. You should submit an application. I think they open every 3 months or 4 months. It's nothing to do with state. It's to do with Home Affairs. So, lodging a 491 under the family sponsored, I think you will have a good chance.
So 491 is a broad visa. It's got the family sponsored part sitting above the state category. So it's under federal, and then each state's got their own program.
Okay, I think we'll move to our viewers from YouTube.
Now we were from with Facebook
earlier.
We're going to YouTube now.
I've got Gaurav. What about offshore visa for chef? When will they be open for offshore? Please give your advice. Again, as we said earlier, it's really hard for us to comment on exactly when it will be open for offshore. We are hoping next year. So this is for state nominated visa, and I believe if you don't have an employer who's willing to sponsor you, you probably still have to wait until the borders open, which again, as we said, we don't know exactly when. Can you please move down?
Chansu, Bonsai, sorry, Bonjour, uncomprehending, sorry.
I've got Majrahul Islam. Hi, is there any update of pending 190 visa from Grant Offshore? No, the visas are still processing. Maybe send an email to the processing team, case officers, and find out where the process is at if you have waited for over a year or so. Can you please move down? Okay. So I think that's all the time we have. Teams pushing us to end the session. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. We are very excited about the BSMQ news and all the updates, and I think in the next couple of months, or especially after July, there'll be more updates and lot more work for everyone, because if you've been waiting so long to get the new occupation lists coming for all the states in the new financial year, we are hoping there'll be much more better opportunities for people who are onshore to get a skilled nominated visa in the next financial year.
And keep in touch for with the next few weeks, leading towards 30th of June, the end of the financial year. There'll be lots of changes, lots of new programs coming in. So we'll be sharing whatever we hear weekly basis to you, and if there's any important information, we'll be notifying you immediately through our channels. So if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to YouTube channel, like our page. That way you will get to know straight away. And we will be posting some new videos shortly as well. I think there's a new GTI video coming up. Mario, do you go through? And then some information comes through very soon for you as well. Stay tuned. You'll get to see them as soon as they've been released. And thank you very much.
See you next week, guys. Have a safe week.
And it's going to be a long weekend for Queensland, so have a long holiday.